Hello. Hi. All right. If you are here, let me know in the chat. I would love to know where you're tuning in from. My name is Jen Manley, and I am in Brunswick, Maryland. It's outside of Frederick, kind of close to DC and Baltimore. Not that close, but like equidistant. And I just got home yesterday from a conference. I was I was in the travel craziness. Oh, Richmond, nice. I love Richmond. It's a very cool little area. I'm also gonna give you all my favorite icebreaker of all time for adults, which is, what is the best sandwich you've ever eaten? Love to know. Or similarly, if you had to eat one sandwich every day for the rest of your life, which one would you eat? Which one would you choose? First grade, second grade, nice. East Coasters, just like me. Love it. Yeah, the best sandwich, so for answering that question, the best sandwich I ever ate was, when I was in college. I went to school at the University of Georgia, and there was a store called Earth Fare, and they had the sandwich that was turkey, cheese, and I think it was like a cranberry jam. So kind of Thanksgiving related, but it was delicious. Oh, awesome. Thanks, Margaret. Yeah. We have 30 minutes, and so I wanna make sure that you leave with something you can use, immediately. All right, tell me one thing you've learned from somebody else. So I know some of you watch my session, but I'd love to know what you learned from others this weekend as well. I'm also happy to answer any questions about boundaries, of course, but also productivity. If there's anything you're worried about going into this year, ways to save time. Oh, yeah, totally. Okay, so the question was, what is in my session? So what we're working through is how to think through the boundaries that you want to set for this year. So, one of the things that I talk a lot about is that you have the ability, like, we work within a system that is not designed for you to be productive, and also relies on teachers being empathetic, and saying yes to everything. And something that I wish I had learned earlier on in my teaching career is how to set the relationship that I want with work, and how to communicate that with my administrators, with parents, with students. And so what we work through in my session is, what do you want that to look like? So what do you want your hours to look like? What do you want, your time away from school to look like? What do you want it to look like in terms of, whether you take on extracurricular work? And then think about, what are you already doing that sets you up to be able to do that? And then what's working, what's not, and for the things that are not working, how can we shift them so that you're better able to control your own schedule and your own relationship with your job. Um, and so what you leave with is you're going to leave with some goals about boundaries that you want, and then also some scripts that you've written to help you communicate them, right? So one of the things I love to talk about is that your principal is your manager, right? They also run the school, but they are also your manager, your administrator. If you're in secondary, it might not be a principal, it might be an assistant principal. And so how do we effectively communicate those boundaries to our administrators as well, in a way that's respectful but professional, and it's a way of sort of managing up. Yeah. Yeah, so something that I love to talk about that because I too am a people pleaser, recovering people pleaser is what I like to say. But your boundaries have to be about your needs. And I think sometimes as empaths or people pleasers or people who, love the work we do and love kids, we are willing to set our boundaries around what other people want. And so what you might see is if that has been you, right? Like I was in my first couple years of teaching, I said yes to everything. They wanted me to chaperone a summer trip. I said yes. They wanted me to mentor students. I said yes. I ended up saying yes to advising yearbook. That was kind of the last straw for me. That helped me realize that I had to stop doing that. But if you're somebody who's like that, when you start saying no, when you start setting boundaries, you might get some pushback. And I think it's really important to hear that that pushback is not about you. That pushback is about them and their discomfort with you, setting that relationship that you want with your job. Yeah, of course, we want them to be happy with me, with you and your work. And I think the other I'm gonna share a moment that I had, I think it was either my 2nd or my 3rd year of teaching, but I had a colleague who taught the same subject as me, who always went home on time, right? Like, he did not say I think he supervised 1 extra club, and that was it. He always went home on time, and I was saying yes to everything. I was on all these committees. If the principal asked me to do something, I did it. And I had this moment where the principal came down. Our school had like a teacher of the year that they nominated. The principal came down. He's like, "Oh, I have something to talk to you about." And he was letting me know that our teacher of the year for that year was going to be my coworker. And I had this moment where I was like, "Oh, it's not actually about how much I do or how much extra I give of myself. This person is working reasonable hours and he's already respected and he's seen, as he's seen as doing a good job, to the point where they're recognizing him as teacher of the year." And so I think like for me, seeing somebody else who was able to be an effective teacher, and respected by administration and all of that without sacrificing their well-being, it was that proof of concept that I needed. And so hopefully I can be that for you. Like I ended up my 5th year of teaching, maybe, I won a national teaching award, and it was a year that I worked my contract hours, right? And so I think sometimes we feel like we have to do more, but actually doing more burns us out, and it makes it so that we can't give everything. We're never going to be able to give everything to everything, right? And so how do we instead give to the things that are most impactful and then take back time and energy for ourselves too? Ah, yes, I love that, Maggie. Okay, let me go through these comments. Hold up. Yep, you want everybody to be happy with you. They will be, I promise. Take work email off your phone. Yes, do that. Take email off your phone. Here's the deal. It took me a little bit to learn this too, but as a teacher, there is truly nothing that is going to be sent to you via email that is urgent, right? Cannot wait till the next workday. Truly. Um, if there was a situation that was urgent, and I know I've been in these situations, right? I've had students, unfortunately, I've experienced a student dying, right? They called us, or they told us in person in both of those situations, right? I got a call when it happened over the summer, and when I was at school, we met in person and talked about it at the staff meeting, right? So if there's something that's truly urgent, they're going to call you. Okay, like your administrator will call you, but there is nothing that is going to be sent to you via email that cannot wait till your next working day. Yeah. Yes, it does make it hard to not expect and send a reply right away. Okay, so this is really important. I don't know if I said it in the session, but I was talking about it at a session in person this past week. Um, if you want your boundaries to be a certain way, your actions also have to communicate that, right? So if I'm thinking about email, for example, if my stated expectation is that I will respond to all emails within 24 hours or within 48 hours, right? Whatever that is, or I respond to email within business hours from 9 to 5 or whatever your school is, not 9 to 5 obviously, but 8:20 to 4:20, right? Whatever those hours are, if you are constantly replying to emails outside of that time, or you're immediately replying to all emails, it's actually not surprising that other people then expect an immediate response from you, or other people then expect a response outside of working hours for you, from you. So my suggestion would be, if you're somebody who does that, either kind of force yourself to work within a way that matches your boundaries. So, for example, maybe you're only checking your email twice a day, or use something like a schedule feature. So, if you are for some reason replying to emails outside of school hours, you're scheduling them to send at the beginning of your next workday. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that is totally true, right? Like if you've done something for 4 years, you might get pushback. And that is not a reason to keep doing something that is not serving you anymore, right? So, unfortunately, again, we have no control over how other people react, and we don't have, we're not able to make them, um, be happy for us for choosing ourselves. Um, and it's also not your responsibility to make them feel better about it, right? They're all adults. They'll figure it out. All right, what are some boundaries that you all struggle with communicating? And talk through maybe some of those. Yeah, so my favorite way to respond when I'm asked to do something that either I previously said no to or people assume that I'm going to say yes to, is to center the students, right? So the kids deserve somebody who is able to give this 100%. At this time, I have, you know, how would I say this? The kids deserve somebody who's able to give this 100% of their energy and time. And at this point, I don't have the capacity to do that. So you're centering the students, right? And that is true. The kids deserve somebody who is able to be there 100% for them. And the bottom line is that the principal or your administrator might want you because you would be really good, or because you're somebody who said yes in the past, but that doesn't mean that you're the only person who would say yes, right? It might mean that it's more work for them, right? They're going to have to ask more people. They might have to pull in a parent or community volunteer. They may have to do it for a little bit, but you saying no because you don't have the capacity for it, is what's best for kids. And I think, for so long, teachers have been told that giving so much of yourself is what's best for kids, but losing great teachers is not best for kids, right? Having a teacher who is so burnt out that they're getting frustrated with students for asking, normal kid things is not what's best for kids, right? It's best for kids to have somebody who's able to give 100% to them, or 80% or more most days. Yeah. I think another thing that really helped me was I heard somebody say once, right, that every yes is also a no. So when you say yes to something and it gives and you're giving your time away and your energy away, there's something else that maybe you don't even know exists yet, that you can no longer do, right? And it could just be you're saying no to yourself, right? And that's what I did for a long time, is I was working on these hours, and what suffered the most was I didn't have time for myself to kind of recharge and get a breather. Um, But yeah, every yes is also a no. Hmm. So not working on the weekends and evenings. Okay, so here's the deal. If you're somebody who struggles with working on weekends and evenings and you want to make a small shift, right? You want to start working a little bit less. And if you have seen any of my content, this is my core belief. I think that for teachers who are working overwhelming numbers of hours, instead of going cold turkey and going from 60 hours to 40 hours, right? Or working all weekend to working no weekends, um, taking an incremental step is the best way to go because you prove to yourself that you can reduce your workload and still be effective, and it's maintainable, right? So we can work an hour less, we can work 3 hours less, we can work only one day on the weekends, whatever. And then it's also we can replicate it. So we can then work another 1 hour less, right? And we move closer incrementally to working contract hours. Yes. Okay. Oh, I love that. Stopped working Sundays this school year. Yep. So if you're somebody who's working all weekend, here's what I want you to do. This is your strategy. Write it down. You're going to do it this year. Before you leave school on Friday, I want you to make a list of everything that you need to finish over the weekend. Need to finish, urgent, has to happen over the weekend. Once you make that list, I want you to write down next to each of those tasks how much time each of them should take, right? So, for example, I have planned lessons for the week, and I know that that's going to take me an hour and a half. I'll put 90 minutes. I want to write positive parent emails and schedule them to send. I know that's going to take me 30 minutes, right? Make yourself that list and then total the time. So, with that example, I had two things on that list. It should have taken me 2 hours, right? Um, and now I am going to sorry, my phone just rang and it went to my computer. That was very strange. I'm gonna schedule a 2-hour block one day of the weekend, and that's all of the time that I have to finish that work. So the truth is that work is going to expand to fit the space you give it. And so if you go into the weekend knowing you have to do some work and you have no plan, you're way more likely to work throughout the entire weekend, which never gives you a break. Right. So if we schedule our work, we know what we have to get done. We give ourselves permission to only do the things we said we were going to do. We now can give ourselves a break over the weekends instead of constantly being on, right? So we'll schedule a 2-hour block or a 4-hour block or whatever that is on one day. Then we have the rest of that entire day and the whole second day as well with no work. Yeah, I also like this hard and fast rule of I do no work on Sundays or I do no work on Saturdays. Oh, I love that. Yeah, using a Google Voice number is a great little hack to make sure that you're able to um, not answer them until the new week. Yeah, of course. What are some things that take the most of your time that you'd love some tips on streamlining? I also want to tell you, we'll take some time to do this while I'm waiting on questions. The all access pass. So if you get that, what is in the all access pass from me is a 7-day mini course called Sprint to Summer. It is so good, but it teaches you how to plan your back to school prep. So I originally offered it as a live 7-day course, but essentially what it is each day has anywhere between 1 and 3 mini trainings that are each under 7 minutes, so they're very quick, and it's designed to be completed in 90 minutes or less. And you leave with your entire back to school prep planned out, prioritized, and time boxed, so you know exactly how you're going to tackle it, and I think it's really good because if you're somebody who thinks you have to work over the summer, it's going to help you figure out exactly how much time you need to work over the summer, or it might show you that you actually can wait until back to school because the number of things that are actually urgent that have to get done immediately will fit in the prep time that you have in your building once you start again. So it teaches you how to use a tool called Trello, which is a time management software, and you also could use if you don't like Trello. I love Trello. I think it's so good, but it'll also talk you through if you don't want to use Trello, how you could use like Google Sheets to be able to kind of sort it that way as well. Yes, it's a really good course, and if that's something that you need help with and you have that all access pass, I would definitely encourage you to do it. You can sit down and finish it, like I said, in 90 minutes or less. Oh, I love that. Okay, yep, making your lessons perfect for your students and what they need, and making sure everything is communicated to the parents. So, a few things about this. We obviously always want things to be 100%, right? But you don't have the capacity to make every lesson award winning. Um, so, one of the things that I like to do is each year choose a couple of lessons that choose a couple lessons that you want to you want to upgrade, right? And it might be one or two lessons a unit. It might be one lesson a month, but where you're then creating that absolute best lesson that then can go into your rotation. So each year you're updating one lesson, right? To make it amazing. One lesson every month, one lesson every unit, whatever it is, and then it just adds on. Um, Personally feel lesson planning takes the most time. Yeah, totally. So another strategy that you can use with lesson planning, if you're finding that it's taking you a ton of time, is sitting down and thinking through what lesson formats do you use repeatedly, right? So you might have a specific, like, let me think of an example for me. So I used to use stations a lot. I taught high school, middle and high school. I used to use stations a lot with my high schoolers so that I could have, some that were interactive, some where they were actually like sitting down and doing AP practice and whatnot. So I was often using these station rotations when we were learning new concepts. And I had specific formats for those station rotations. So again, computer science teachers, so if you don't teach computer science, this won't make sense. But one of them was called Parsons problems. That was one I did often. Coding within a skeleton was another one. Vocabulary review might be a third one, and then practice FRQ, um, or FRQ practice, right? For response question practice. So now I have these structures that I'm using over and over again. And now I can plan my lessons within these structures. So I'm not having to rethink exactly how it's going to be set up. And something that helped me with this was, when I first started teaching, I thought, well, everything has to be different all of the time. It's actually better for kids to have some repetition. That doesn't mean that you can't do, like super fun. I used to do room transformations when I was in middle school. The kids really loved it. You can still do these super fun things, but having repetition in what kids are seeing in your classroom is really good for their cognitive load because they're not having to figure out what's going to happen next. Yeah. That I know. And then the other thing I was going to say, and this is at the end of my workshop too, but I will throw the link in the chat as well. Give me 1 second. I'm going to find it. All right. So on Thursday of this week, I am doing an hour-long live workshop called the Time Back Fast Track. I'm really excited about it. I don't know if anybody's registered, but if you're not, here's the link. It's going to be live. And It popped up on my screen. But it's going to be live and we're going to talk through three different things. So, we're going to talk a little bit about boundaries, but in a different way than we did in the session today. So, it'll be totally different content. We're also going to talk about ways to maximize your schedule. So, we'll talk through how to make your schedule work for you. So, one of the things that I often talk about, right, is that your schedule is actually not set up for you to be productive because productivity requires us to have extended periods of time, which teachers don't have. And you also don't have enough time given how much work you have to do. So we'll talk through some strategies to better structure your workload within the structure, the schedule that you have. Then we'll talk about boundaries. And then finally, we're going to go work through my systems builder so you can systemize workload and like student work as well in your classroom so that it's quicker, it's more streamlined. And I'll give you an example of one that I use, but you'll also be able to use that systems builder for anything in your classroom that needs to be streamlined and needs you to take back some time. And it's a live workshop on Thursday, but you'll also get the recording if you're not able to make it live. So it's 5 o'clock, and then I'll stay around to answer any questions too and help. Oh yeah, those unannounced observations. I feel like that is I mean, I get why they do it and also um, you know, unannounced observations I think should be treated differently than announced observations in terms of what you are giving them. It shouldn't be a gotcha, right? My favorite is when you have an unannounced observation and you're doing something like taking a test. Test review is actually good because you can have lots of engaging games. Okay, we are wrapping up on time, and I think there's somebody right after me, so I think I'm gonna get kicked off. But any last questions I can answer? You also can find me. I am on TikTok and Instagram at Strategic Classroom. I have a really good free resource folder that you can access as well through my link in my bio. Yeah. Oh, perfect. There's about a half an hour. Okay, so Amy is going to be here in a half an hour. Um, Definitely join that. And if you need anything at all, you can find me on Instagram, like I said, or you can email me. And my email is Jen. I'll put it in the chat as well. Jen at jenmanleyedu.com. Fabulous. Yeah. So definitely, if you have that all access pass, I would encourage you to check out Sprint to Summer. It's really good and you'll be able to get through it in a manageable amount of time. And you're going to feel so good having your back to school prepped. Yeah. Awesome. Yay. I love that. I love that. Cool. Well, then I will see some of you on Thursday. It's going to be really fun. I'm excited about it. And there's quite a few people registered. So hopefully it'll be a really good little teacher hangout too at the end. So thank you for being here with me. If you need anything at all, definitely reach out and enjoy the rest of the conference.